any words of wisdom for the kids out there?
Drink plenty of fluids on a hot day and get high in the music, not the drugs.
Welcome back, winners and losers. Another week of Take the Points. I'm your host, Fat Sam. With me, as always, the world-famous T-Bone.
Present.
And Joey Guns, ready to keep us in line and keep us on topic. The enforcer, our counselor. So it was a tough week this week. I wanted to open and talk a little bit about Thursday night game.
That was bad.
I know I told everybody out there to take the Jets, and I had a lot of questions about the dead fox and what that had to do with anything. So I wanted to go into a little more detail about that and just explain myself to our kind listeners out there and let you know my theory behind the dead fox.
I was still trying to understand the correlation.
I know. I even had, believe me, if we had video up, you could see the looks on their faces when I told the story last week. But okay, so the Jets are a bad team, and Denver's a hurt team. We went over
Terrible.
that. We went over that last week.
Terrible.
Thursday night games are difficult.
It doesn't have the same enthusiasm. You know, for whatever reason, even if there's good teams playing, they don't have the same enthusiasm as a Sunday game.
The Jets were home dogs.
True.
90% of the money was coming in on Denver. Both of these teams are bad. So I would say that it's not a good bet to take. But all else being equal,
well, it's easy to say that.
Of course, it is
fact.
now. But I also think it was a good bet to take if you had to lay something down, because all else being equal, there was enough there to say that it wouldn't be surprising or shocking if they won. Now, it turned out exactly kind of like everybody thought it would,
but there was a flash of Sam Darnold.
There was, yeah.
Early on,
Yep.
when he streaked down the field, ran the ball in, I thought, okay, we're doing good.
So I want to tease our celebrity pick here a little bit. I got a text from my friend Artie Lang, and he said he loved my Jets pick, but he also said never bet on the Jets. So I mean, right there,
But he was coked up when he said that.
Encapsulates
he's
everything.
He's sober.
With that pick, they had a chance to win, they didn't win. And so I apologize for that. But again, it was a dead fox on the road. And all I can say is that if they had pulled it out, I wouldn't have been shocked. And I would have been here saying, see, I told you also.
And Denver played better than I thought.
Denver did play well.
I'll be honest. They played a lot better than I thought. But again, they're playing the Jets.
They did try to give them the game.
This is true. This is true.
It was just didn't work out the way I thought it would. So my apologies for that. But I will say going forward, if you are ever confused or you don't know, or something seems too good to be true, and 90% of the money coming in on Denver to me seems too good to be true. Sometimes the safest bet is to take the contrarian route and go the opposite of what everybody else is going.
Or bet against the Jets.
Or in this case, unfortunately, it was the Jets. So. But on that note, let's go over a quick summary of what else went down last week.
I think it's Philly 49ers next.
The Philly game was one that I said take the points, and they ended up winning outright. I loved that game. I loved that game all
I was
week.
shocked.
I know you were against that game.
Stunned. I was a stunned mullet watching that game.
But it was it played out exactly like I thought it was going to. San Francisco just didn't have all their weapons. Philly was due, and that played out exactly like I thought. So they won that outright. That was one of my better picks.
Yep.
We had another great pick. Joey Guns was very confident about the Ravens bouncing back last week and easily covering that huge, was it 12.5, 13.5?
Yeah.
And he also liked the over on that game, and both of them were solid.
Tampa over,
solid
I believe
picks.
I took parlayed that over the Tampa Bay game and the Baltimore game, both the over. Just basically thinking about what had happened the week prior.
So you did the opposite.
I did the opposite. Turns out doing the opposite served me well. And that parlay came in. That was my parlay pick of the week, Sam.
That's a good call.
It was a good call.
Pretty impressed.
Very better than your 0-7
I
under
bounced
the week
back.
before.
I did bounce back well.
You redeemed yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
The last
T-Bone.
game we wanted to hit on real quick was because it was my lock pick. I loved Tampa Bay -7.5 last week.
Yeah.
And all I can say is that I was at my kid's soccer game, and when I pulled out the app, the NFL app, to see what the score was, and it was 21-7 in the first quarter of the Chargers, and I was like, oh my Lord, what did I miss on this?
They were running away with it.
They were, and that vaunted Tampa defense didn't seem to be there, but a couple mistakes. This is another game where if you watch the end of the game, which I got home in time to watch the end of the game, there was a very good chance for Tampa to cover. There was a drop pass that if they'd gotten a touchdown on that second to last drive, and then there was a pick that was close to a pick six. They ran it all the way back to the 5-yard line, but it was overturned by penalty, and they had to go
Austin Eckler
back.
got hurt. There's a bunch of things that happened in that game that it could have went either way.
A lot of things happened at the end of that game where I knew, I was like, this is going to be close. They have lots of opportunities to cover, and it just didn't. And of course, that half point, that really sucked. But
as always, the hook gets you.
Gosh, it was just that. But I still loved it. I loved the game, but there were some things that went crazy there. But again, any given Sunday, any given Thursday, any given Monday, anything could happen.
Yep.
That leads into, I want to tell one more quick story here before we go into this week, T-Bone. And when I was a kid, I knew this gambler that had a pair of loaded dice, and he showed me these dice, and they were loaded so that instead of the 6 coming up 13% of the time, it came up 25% of the time, and the 1 hardly ever came up. And he showed me these dice, and I rolled the dice, and he said, these are great if I'm playing backgammon, or that I know the chances of the 6 coming up are better. And I rolled the dice, and I had a 1 come up. And I said, well, how is that possible? If they're loaded dice, how is that possible that a 1 comes up? And he's like, well, you can't, just because the 1 will not never come up. It's going to happen from time to time. And the key about having loaded dice is the person you're playing against, you don't want them to know that it's loaded.
That's a big thing.
So you roll them, you got to have the 1s come up on occasion. And as I thought about that, I was like, that's kind of sneaky. But then I also thought maybe these aren't loaded dice at all, and he's just messing with my head. But
right.
Anyways, that kind of will tell you that even though you may have inside information that
A sure thing.
that something is a better likelihood of happening,
Kind
sometimes
of like the Jets.
sometimes the opposite will still happen, and it has to still happen.
Right.
Because as we all know out there, when you're gambling, that anything can happen.
It's destiny.
The law of averages. I believe it's
Exactly.
called.
All right, so we're going to transition then to talking about this week's games.
Let's do it.
You want to head out first? So I'll start off with one I like. And again, I lost mightily last week betting Arizona to beat my vaunted Carolina Panthers. So I regret that. Apologies up front for that. But this week, I don't care. I'm going with them again. So Arizona is favored right now by, Arizona is -7 against the Jets. And as we just previously talked to, I don't like the Jets anymore at all. I think they suck. And I think Arizona, even though they're traveling, I definitely think that Arizona is going to be able to cover the +7.
I don't know what to think about that team anymore. Is it Arizona?
Arizona
the team we
or
saw?
the Jets?
Arizona. I know what I think about the Jets. Arizona. Is it the team we saw the first couple weeks of the season, or is it the team we saw the last couple? weeks
Kyler
of the
Murray,
season?
he's supposed to be the
know.
MVP candidate. He's supposed to be throwing at least 3 touchdowns a game. In these last 2 games, he almost regressed a little bit.
I think this game will tell us a lot about the Arizona Cardinals this week. If they can come in and really light it up.
Cross country,
Yeah. I think that'll show a lot of their mettle.
right?
If they don't, if they
It's
come
the
in and barely
Jets.
win or lose,
It's the Jets. There's no way they should not cover against the Jets. Any team that plays the Jets should be able to cover now.
Joey, any thoughts on this?
Well, I was just wondering how the Arizona football team does outside of the dome.
Oh, is that what you think it is?
So, just so you know, Cardinals isn't an offensive term, and you don't have to call them the Arizona football
Wait,
team.
I apologize.
Any
apologize.
no birds will be offended by this
social
podcast.
justice warriors out there may get slightly
I'm
offended.
just being safe.
The team from Arizona
I'm
will
just
go
being
into
safe.
the Jets.
But here's the thing. I don't even know because Detroit went into Arizona, and look what Detroit did. And there's
No
no
one
way
saw that
Detroit
coming.
deserved
No one
winning.
saw that.
They should have lost. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of, like I said,
Detroit cannot lose this week. They're on a bye. I just want to say that.
it's the only way they win.
I know.
So again, I know I picked Arizona last week and it was bad. It was a bad pick on my part. But this week I'm still sticking with Arizona.
Let's touch on this. I think we were going to say something about this, and I got lost in my long-windedness. But that's another thing, just take into consideration the whole COVID thing with teams last minute. That was another pick that I liked last week.
Scratches, yeah.
I love the Patriots as a long shot upset
With Cam playing.
right, and then after the fact, it's like what do you do? Are they going to play? Are they not going to play? It's delayed a week.
Yep.
I mean, again, Belichick's a great game planner, but anybody that watched that
Now,
game,
here's my question. This week it was Cam that was sick. If that same game had been played and it was Patrick Mahomes, would they have canceled the game?
good questions.
You have to wonder because it kind of seems like, on some degree, it's the visiting team, so they let the game go, but they probably should have rescheduled that game.
It's a good point, and I think the point is that we don't want to make excuses, but
True.
But the NFL is fumbling through this just like the rest of the country, trying to figure out the whole COVID. What do we do? How much precaution do we take? How do we get through this season? So there's a lot of unknowns out there, and it's just something you got to take into consideration. I know they're doing their best. We're doing our best. Everybody's doing their best out there to try to have fun. And
I just want to quote the great Don Rumsfeld. We don't know what we don't know.
And he didn't know what he did know. No, that's nothing against Don. That's nothing against Don.
Now, do you know what happens to a bet that's placed? Let's say on a Saturday, the game gets canceled. The bet's been placed, but it doesn't get canceled.
I think it's
become
no action.
But the
Yeah.
game doesn't get canceled. It gets postponed and played on Monday instead. What happens then?
As long as
Good
it's
question.
played, it's still good, I think.
So you're saying when you bet the game, you bet on a quarterback that doesn't play.
Correct.
You're just
You're
betting
stuck.
on the
Most
Yeah,
of
you're
the
stuck. It's like betting on the Super Bowl winner at the first game of the season.
Right.
You're left
Okay.
with what you bet on. That's it.
So the only way you're getting the money back is if the game is actually canceled.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But as long as it's played that week, so on a
or
Monday,
even if
for
it gets
example-
postponed, I would assume it carries over if it's postponed.
Okay.
So that's something to consider. But again, like you said, COVID threw a wrench in everything.
I'll be looking into the legal aspects
No,
of this.
I appreciate that, Joey.
During the
Guns.
next episode, we'll be
as our
talking
legal
about-
representation.
We'll be talking about your rights as a gambler.
There you go.
know what you're betting and
we
where
have
you're
rights.
betting.
What?
So
No.
if you're betting on one of the apps or in the casino, you may have a little more safety than if you're betting with Uncle Vinny. But I don't know. I think as long as the game is played, again, it's just like certain players. If the quarterback, a different quarterback starts, if the game, as long as the game is played, you've got action on that. If there's some reason it's not played or it's called, then it goes off the board. That's how I understand it to be.
We'll see how it plays out.
But it would be interesting to see if the book was still taking bets after the game was postponed, right? Because of all the uncertainty.
Right.
Like they could be well within their rights not to take any more bets, but also hold on to
Or-
what they have.
Or do they
agree.
adjust the line accordingly when you find out Cam isn't playing?
So I don't know if you remember last year when we were in Charlestown, and we were at the window, and I think it was a Falcons Green Bay game. It came off and went on like 4 or 5 times.
Yep.
We were on the phone,
Yep.
and I was like, "That's all right." Now it's -3. Oh no, they just took it off.
You were
again.
giving me live
Now it came back up
updates.
a minute later. Now it's -4. Oh, it just went off again, and it was all: is Rodgers going to play? Is he not going
Right.
to play? Is Matty Ice going to play? Is he not going to play? And they're trying to guess, I think, at the same time. But I think as long as you have that ticket, once the game starts and it's completed, you've got action on that, regardless of if they're down to the third string quarterback or whatever else. But I do know that for the money line bet that I took on Cincinnati last week.
Good bet.
Was it last week? The week they tied. If you take the money line and it's a tie, that's no action.
Right.
So maybe that was 2 weeks ago. But
Yeah.
I'm old and losing.
They
my
won
mind.
last week.
They
Joe
won
Burrow's
last
won.
week, so it must have been 2 weeks ago. That was
Right.
no action.
All right. Well, we talked about COVID. I want to transition
Yes.
into this next game, which I think to me is significant because it's within the division. So you have Jacksonville at Houston, who Houston just had their coach fired.
Bill Brasky.
No, Bill O'Brien.
Oh, Bill O'Brien.
Again, Bill
Bill.
O'Brien. So
I like Bill Brasky.
You're not going to remember that name in a year.
you have
He gets
a
another job.
multi-million-dollar quarterback in Watson who just got paid, and he's leading an 0-4 team against the vaunted Jacksonville Jaguars. So what's your take on that?
You took Houston last week to get their first win.
I did.
I like them this week.
I did.
I like them to show that all their ills were the Bill Brasky's problem. I mean,
Bill
they still,
O'Brien.
I know they still have a lot of talent on that. They're going to be home. Jacksonville is hit or miss. This is the week.
But they've got an interim head coach. What makes you think Romeo Crennel can suddenly turn a team that's 0-4 around?
Can't be any worse than Bill Brasky. So, Bill O'Brien. That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, I like Romeo Crennel. If he's the interim coach, he's no schluff. And
He's a defensive guy.
but they're still, I mean, Houston's fortunes will come down if they can stop the run or not. And
I don't know if Fournette's playing.
Fournette isn't in Jacksonville anymore.
I don't know if Fournette. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I don't know
My bad.
whoever their running back is. I don't know
My
that
bad.
he can run. Anyway, I don't know if Fournette's playing this week either.
Well, they
but
got the
he's in
Minshew
Tampa.
mustache at the very least, but yeah.
I don't know. I like Houston to get their win this week. Was it 5.5 or 6? What did that line?
I think
I think it opened at 5.5.
it was. I think
Yeah, right now it's 6.5.
Okay,
6.5.
So
yeah.
And just
I've
for a
already moved it.
statistical comparison, teams do better after coach is fired mid-season.
I
Really?
believe that. I think I read
So they
that
get
in
a
book one
bump
time.
some
There's
sort.
a little bit of a
A little bit of a
bump.
bump.
But here's the thing. So Jacksonville. Okay, so Jacksonville has been all over the place, and I don't really know what Jacksonville team is ever going to show up. I'll be honest. But I know Jacksonville, if Minshew can connect with his receivers, I think they will win.
I don't dislike your bet because a lot of times in these division games, I think either Jacksonville wins outright or there's like a 9-6 score or something like that. I think last year it was like they played 9-6.
Oh God, that would be ugly.
So, but I do like. I think Houston covers here. They have to win by a touchdown.
I gave Houston a break for the first 3 games because they played tough teams.
They did.
But they should have won this last game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They should have won, and they didn't. So, to me, they're broken. New coach. I get what you're saying there, Joey, but I don't think they can pull it together.
Last week they got Delvin cooked, which I thought they were gonna.
The cooker.
Yeah, they got cooked because they can't stop the run. But I honestly do not know the name of it, and that's no affront to him. But I don't know the guy who's running in Jacksonville.
So you're going with Houston this
I'm
week.
taking
I'm
Houston.
going with Jacksonville.
And I'll take the statistical approach and go with Houston as well.
Joey Guns.
Joey
And do you like the over or under on this game, Joe? Is that one?
I'm
that
liking the over on everything this
Okay,
week.
all right.
Again, some of the over-unders have gone even lower this week, despite the fact that all but 2 games went over last week.
Do you know
for
the
some
over-under on
reason.
this one?
And for this one, we're looking at 53.5.
53.5.
Yes.
And you're going with what?
the over. Again,
Wow.
using the
Joey
mathematical
Guns.
approach
Wow.
based on the history of my picks thus far in the season. I'm going to go again with the over on this
So
game.
now this game's guaranteed to be 9-6.
And it'll probably be in a rain. There'll be tropical storm something.
Oh no,
circulating.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right.
What's
all
the
right.
next game we have?
Well,
over
moving
there?
on. Okay, so we'll move to the next game. So the one I have here on the sheet is it looks like Seattle is playing against the Vikings, and it's in Seattle.
Oh,
So who do you like there? I'll defer first to you. The
Me?
great
The
Sam,
great and powerful Fat Sam.
the omnipotent one.
I think this is a tough game to call. I mean,
Oh, it's just Seattle.
I know.
How
I
hard
know
can
you
it
like
be?
Seattle, but
How hard can it be? Now, mind you, I picked Miami over Seattle last week.
I like Miami this
at least to
week.
cover the spread. But Seattle, the Vikings.
I like Miami in the points this week. Don't ask me why, but I'm a Cousins fan.
Oh.
I know. And but hey, Russell Wilson's great and he's been great. But my big thing with Seattle is that they don't really have the Legion of Boom anymore. Their defense, I think, is substandard.
Absolutely correct.
They don't really have the 13th man there with no fans in the stands. So,
But here's what I'll say to that, and this is just my contrary opinion. Seattle can put up points.
yeah, I agree.
Every game.
I agree.
And what have we noticed so far? The trend with the Vikings, they can't stop teams putting up points.
They were my sneaky peek Super Bowl pick, I think, this year.
Well, it made sense early on. It made sense. I would have thought the same thing because that's what they're known for, their defense.
They've got that kid Jefferson now who's kind of stepped up
Yeah.
last week. He looked
Yeah,
good.
really big.
Joey
Joey,
Thielen had a big week last week.
I got to ask Joey Guns, what are you looking at on this one?
Well, I'm looking to the over-under again on this one. 57.5. I'd take it if it was 70.
That's probably going to be a...
If it was 70,
I'd take the over on 70.
Okay.
just to throw out there,
That's bold. That's
What
bold.
was the point total last week that we're looking at?
Dallas and Cleveland scored
it was-
87 points last week.
Yeah, that is insane.
That is
This is
sick.
like college. This is like Texas Tech playing
Troy.
Clemson or
Troy.
something. Troy State. Yeah. NFL has turned into college.
Oh,
It's crazy.
man. Nobody's tackling out there.
Nobody's
That's it.
tackling.
The the
COVID.
total points has reflected that thus far. And some reason this week the lines are thinking people are going to start tackling because they've gone down.
Not in Seattle, they're not.
So just out of curiosity, what's the over-under on this one? Do you know?
Yeah, 57.5.
57.5. Seattle, I'd see them not only covering the 7 points, I think they'll win convincingly. I'm talking by like probably 17 points. And I see this being, I can't go that high. I think it's probably a 28, maybe 14 game. That's what I see it as.
That makes me pucker a little bit. But what do I know? I took the Jets last week. I mean,
Your lips or your ass?
I'm going to leave that up for our listeners' determination. But
Gives you the shimmies.
I don't know. I like Minnesota, but I can separate myself from liking the team, and just it goes back. I go back to Seattle's not going to win 16 games, and what are they going to lose? I don't know.
Russell Wilson is definitely
great.
playing MVP caliber.
He's got my vote.
I mean, they just put up
Not
points.
that I have a vote, but he's got my vote for
Yeah.
MVP so far.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see how it goes. But then, all right, so we finished with that segment. If we move on now, I think the next piece is going to be the third and longs.
Third and long.
Is that something you want to get into? You ready for that?
Let's do that.
All right. So the first game up that I am picking, and again, third and long, folks, so understand, probably not going to happen, but if you want to try to win big, I am picking the Raiders at 13.5. Plus 13.5. I think they have every opportunity to probably exceed that by at least 3 points. So I'm going with the Raiders this week for third and long.
I like it, Tom. What do you got?
I was high on the Raiders. I don't know what to think.
They've
of that team
played
anymore.
well all season long.
I know.
And what overall, what are we looking at here? They're playing against a team that isn't known for putting up a lot of points,
Right.
So to me, 13.5 is a little bit too big of a stretch.
Mm-hmm. Sam, what do you got for
I
your
don't-
third and long shot of the week?
Do I have a long shot of the week this week?
Yeah, I thought you said you were going to take the Giants.
No, that's our celebrity pick of the week.
Artie Lang's taking the Giants.
Artie
but
Lang
you're
is
not
taking
buying
the
it.
Giants. I don't buy it.
Are we
either.
back on Artie again?
Yeah, I had a good conversation with Artie. He said, never bet the Jets, but he likes the Giants this week.
Wow.
With the points, and his answer was it's a divisional game. They always play Dallas tough. Dallas has shown nothing, so getting into our celebrity pick of the week.
But who does realistically? Who on the Giants is going to score touchdowns?
I don't know. This is my pick. This is Artie's pick of the week.
You'll have to ask him.
But Artie's on
Not
coke
asking.
all the time.
He's clean. He's
He's
clean.
been clean for a while.
He's clean for a day.
He won $100,000 on the Giants beating the Patriots back in the day, and
That happened like 20 years
I
ago.
know. And there's been a lot
Okay.
of losses in between.
And he's definitely snorted $20,000 worth of coke.
I think he also bet on the same game, the opposite team. I think I read that.
Yeah, that was a Cowboys game, I believe. He bet the Cowboys.
Have
to
we
win.
not learned there are two teams that you don't bet on? The Giants and the Jets
This year.
are two of the teams you
They
don't.
both happen to be from the same place.
Exactly.
Fat Sam.
Exactly. And hey, we
But
can
I'm
throw
betting on Fat Sam this week.
while we're talking about it, you can throw Washington in there too, who just switched to a new quarterback.
I don't
So-
like Washington this week.
Let's face it, the NFC East is a train wreck. It's not going to happen. So if you bet against them consistently every week, you're probably going to win.
I think Miami was my long shot pick of the week.
Long shot pick of
I'm
the
almost going
This week or
this
last
week?
week?
No, because you took them last week and I didn't like them last week. I'm opposite, but this week I like them. I like them to score some points.
Yeah, they're going to
And
San Francisco.
They're going to San Francisco. Mostart might be back.
Ah.
I know Kittle is back.
Kittle is a beast.
But Miami is getting 9.
9, yeah. This is a
I'm
long
with
shot.
Sam. I'm with Sam. I think get 9 points is too many.
I'm here to tell you, as the microphone speaks, San Francisco will win by 10.
Okay.
It's
It's
possible.
going to happen.
It's possible.
Yep.
But it's still my long shot, third and long pick of the week.
They're traveling west.
Okay.
East Coast team traveling way west.
That algorithm is West Coast teams traveling east.
I'm switching it.
Okay. Well,
All right. So I just don't understand, how they are going to be able to produce enough points against that, even though it's reduced because of injuries. The 49ers defense,
Miami's plucky and
plucky.
and the 49ers are still in the infirmary. A lot of them are. So, yeah, I don't know. That's my long shot of the week.
All right.
I like it.
Are we gonna now talk about the parlay of the week?
Yeah, I'll talk about my parlay pick of the week.
I'm
Hit
interested.
it, Joey.
Here. Joey Guns
As
is
a
going to
winner
get
from
it.
last week, I'm
Yes.
going to take a
Pay
similar.
attention, folks, because this is probably your winner.
I'm taking a similar approach this week.
If you don't
gentlemen.
listen to anything else this episode, listen to the parlay of the week that Joey Guns gives.
So, similar approach. I'm going to take the overs on 2 games, parlay those
You
together,
love them overs.
and walk away with a lot of money, just like last week. So this week, I'm taking the Colts game over 46.5. I think that's a great number. Everyone's been pushing over those numbers, so I'm taking that, and then I'm going to parlay that with the Chargers Saints over 50.5. I think that game's got
Wow.
potential to be
Okay.
big score. Saints at home always seem to score big, so I'm taking those 2 games.
Now, we don't know about
Put
Michael
those
Thomas
together.
if he's
Well,
playing. So,
Someone will step up. Someone
I
will
worry
step
a
up.
little bit because we know Kamara can score, obviously. He's like their
Right.
main source right now. But then you have, on the other side of the coin, Justin Ebert playing and Austin Eckler's out. So I like your first pick. I'm not sure about your second one, though.
Okay.
I think I like the overs. I do. I like those. I like that parlay this week. I did notice that I think that the over under the total scores this week shifted down.
Right.
Last week there was a lot of 50s, 57s.
There's like 8 teams that were over.
There was a lot.
all
This week
covered.
there's a lot more 40s this week. So I like that. I'm anxious to see how just talk about the Saints real quick. I've got Taysom Hill on my fantasy team as a tight end, and I'm waiting for him to have
A
a touchdown.
tight end?
Yeah, he's got
The
tight
hell
end
does he
eligibility.
qualify for that?
He's got tight end eligibility. I've played him a couple weeks, and he has yet to score a touchdown. So they got to use him. But I also have Kamara, and he's has a great fantasy year so far.
That's all they do anymore. I have to admit, all you see the New Orleans Saints doing is throwing to Kamara in the backfield and letting him run it. But they also
Why
had, what's
not?
his name? Latavius Murray got 2 touchdowns last weekend.
He's a good game.
So, I mean, they've got the weapons. I just don't know if they've got enough to go in the over on this one. I'm a little bit suspect of that.
Any other parlay picks of the week?
I think that's it for me.
I
unless
don't
you've got
think I
any.
have anything. I like your pick, Joe, and we'll see. Of course, last minute as we head to the casino this week, we'll see if there's any last minute changes. And
There with COVID,
It's
there's
hard
going to
to
be
say.
a lot.
Of course, we'll go over them next week when we're talking about it. And we've also talked about, as we advance a little bit, is possibly doing a live from the road podcast. We still have some work to do.
In the casino, we're going to do it?
I think on the road on the way there.
That's possible.
Joey said it was a possibility that we could do that. We talked about that this week a little bit.
You know, I always like to see when the lines move more than 3 points. You got to bet on that game, you know. I mean, my friend lent me a book one time that said, number one, always take the home dogs.
Are we back to the book again?
And always take a game where the lines move to more than 3 points. You want to take that game.
Look,
So-
that might have been like the middle part of that book, but the first part of the book was don't bet on the Jets, don't bet on the Giants. Okay, I'm here to tell you that's the piece I'm going with. That is the best advice I think we can give you going forward.
So, again, real quick, last week we talked about our Patreon, and we still were going to get that set up. Eventually, we're going to have our link below. We have some editing to do, but we do have PayPal set up.
And we're going to continue to develop
Yes, this
this
is going to get better.
podcast.
We're making changes on the fly as
And
we
we're
go.
looking for feedback. Feel free to comment where you think we need to do better, where we suck, anything in between.
As always, hit the like button.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Of course, subscribe. So
Critical.
you don't miss any of this great analysis.
So we can bring you better commentary.
And I think what you were going to mention, Sam, is that as we move forward, part of the becoming a patron is that you're going to get every pick.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
We're gonna
right.
give
The
you
premium
a-
content, yes.
Yeah, we're going to be sending out
That's huge.
the full list of picks every week.
Huge.
And, you know, so far we've gone over 60% individually this season. So I
Yeah.
think we've got good numbers. And I think if, you know, looking at last season, we were over 60% for the year. And,
Yep.
you know,
And if the demand is there, we can get around the merch.
That's the whole reason why
All right.
we're here, really,
Right.
is because we are just as good as anybody else and better than a lot. So
Better than the experts.
we are trained professionals, ladies and gentlemen. We have lost more money. Well, we win sometimes too. You know, and you got to keep that in
All
perspective.
right, so how do we wrap this up?
So yeah, look for the link below. Send us some money on PayPal. Send us become a Patreon, and if not, just like and subscribe us. And we're gonna continue to try to give you some great content and help you with your fun and fantasy and your gambling going forward. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to tune in to Take the Points. I'm Fat Sam, as always.
T-Bone.
Joey Gunn.